Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurhana Natasha Binti Rizal. We would like to discuss about the different countries in Asia, East and Central that our group member choose is Cambodia as undeveloped country, China as developing country, and Japan as developed country. In introduction, as we know, economic development is the most important things in a country. Development are focused on social, cultural and economic growth to build a country freedom. In this assignment, we require to learn about the undeveloped, developing and advanced country based on comparative analysis between economic development, political system, human development index, human rights and environment issue from that three countries. Definition for undeveloped country is extreme poverty and the least economic growth compared with other nations, which is Cambodia have a low capital income and people living lack of education and healthcare. Next, definition for developing country is more developed than developed country but better than less economically advanced, which is China are committed to help the people achieve their basic quality of living resources. This country have potential to grow and also stable in the future. So definition for developed country is this country have strong economic and modern infrastructure compared with other nation, which is Japan have many kinds of industrial and services sector for the people. The objective of assignment that we get is to identify and make comparison between the three countries based on data of economic growth, peace status, conflict, political status and human development index.
Alright, I'm here to tell you about Cambodia, China and Japan of their history, of their economic development and conflict and peace status. Alright, let's go to history. Cambodia has its own idiosyncratic people and history which differs from the last two countries. The historical backdrop of Cambodia, a nation in terrain Southeast Asia, can be followed back to Indian human progress. Alright, China. The aristocratic class practiced Buddhism and Chinese calligraphy, while agricultural villages followed Shintoism. Then we go to Japan. Japan has its own historical background compared to Cambodia and China. Of course, Japan was settled about 35,000 years ago by Paleolithic people from the Asian mainland. Alright, let's go to overall economic development. Cambodia, as you guys know, Cambodia has the weakest economic rate. Alright, then we go to China. China has a wide economic system that has sustained the country until now because of their business. Alright, then we go to Japan. Japan is one of the most innovatively propelled social orders on earth and it has world's third biggest economic GDP. Alright, the highest I can say money rate, but not that high, but I can say stable country. Let's go. Next we go conflict and peace status. Alright, Cambodia. The country's transition from the tragic war troubled peace actually took several more years to forge. It took times to have a peace of the country. Then we go to China. China has also suffered its own set of conflict that built China to what it is today. Then we go to Japan. Japan's economy endured a significant blow and they then gone through many wars including World War I. Right? Then we go to which lost many lives from Japan. Yeah.
My name is Faris Iskandar bin Zubir. Today I will present to you about comparative analysis on political system between Cambodia, China and Japan. Political system is the collection of formal legal organizations that represent state and government. Political system can also be seen as a system of processes of interaction that connecting with other non-political subsystems such economics. There are four main types of political system in the world, which is democracy, monarchy, communism and dictatorship. Move to the next part, analysis on election of Cambodia, China and Japan. For Cambodia, parliamentary elections of Cambodia took place every 5 years and Cambodia's legislature is chosen through national election. The Parliament of Cambodia dividing into two chambers. The first one is Assembly of Cambodia, which also called as Ratsbia, and the second one is the Senate, which also called as Pritsbia. As for China, there are two categories. The first one is direct right to vote and the second one is indirect right to vote. The final list of nominees is drawn up in consultation with voting groups in a mechanism which known as the 3 up and 3 down process. As for Japan, there are 4 principles of Japan's election system, which consists of universal voter participation, equality of votes, secrecy of ballot, election based on the principle of representative democracy. As for the last part is analysis on political system of Cambodia, China and Japan. As for Cambodia, Cambodia takes place within a constitutional monarchy system whereby the Prime Minister is the head of the government and the King acts as the head of state. As for China, China has a unique multi-party cooperation system. The Communist Party of China, CPC, calls China's system as a socialist consultative democracy. Lastly, Japan. The Japan call their system as constitutional monarchy, but its functions are similar like parliamentary republic.
My name is Nurul Aini Binti Za'imuddin, and now I'm gonna proceed with the next subtopic, Human Development Index for 3 selected countries, Japan, China and Cambodia. HDI is a series of annual human development report published by UNDP to track changes in the level of development over time as well as to analyze the levels of productivity in various countries. There are 4 important elements that will be discussed, which is ranking, mortality rate, education and income rate. Based on the table shown, Japan has succeeded in ranking its nation as the top 20 developed countries with an HDI value 0.915 as compared to China and Cambodia. It can be seen that Japan has a very high human development category, followed by China high human development category and Cambodia medium human development category. This is because life expectancy, mean years of schooling, expected years of schooling as well as GNI per capita has given contribution to Japan's HDI ranking. As shown in the table, Japan has the highest death rate as compared to China and Cambodia. The common diseases that always occur in these 3 countries are Alzheimer's disease, ischemic heart disease, lower respiratory infection and etc. In China, improvements in terms of quality in medical services, especially in infant and maternal health, were the main drivers in increasing their life expectancy. In terms of education, Japan's education rate has a constant rate of 99%. The differences between Japan and China are just 3.88% from the rating obtained. Education in Japan is mandatory at both elementary and lower secondary level. However, China has the world's largest education network and China is currently enhancing the standard of education through a big initiative to overhaul their school curriculum. Based on the slide shown, Japan has the highest GNI value as compared to China and Cambodia. This is because agriculture, manufacturing and tourism has helped the country to raise revenue for the economy. Meanwhile, in Cambodia, textile and tourism are the 2 main income to the country. Some of the challenges that they need to face include the need of a good quality of education and the shortage of skilled labor force, especially in rural poverty. This is because they have insufficient of basic infrastructure.
My name is Husna Mutakabbir, Binti Ghafar, and I'm going to explain about the human rights of the country of Cambodia, China and Japan. Definition of human rights. So human rights are generally understood as those rights inherent in the simple reality to become a human being. The human right principle is predicated on the assumption that every human being has the right to enjoy his or her right without discrimination. First issue is involving the right of children. In Cambodia, most of the children are suffering from malnutrition and poor living standard, while trafficking of minors is one of the major issues challenging in China. Other than that, children in Japan are dealing with a considerable uncertainty and access to their primary right is easily undermined. Hence, there are many single mothers who have multiple job at once to meet their children's needs such clothes, food and school fee. The freedom of religion. In Cambodia, the constitution describes Buddhism as the state religion, but it is also known that the country is practicing religion, tradition and freedom of religion. The country of China also have the freedom of religious expression, but it's restricted to the rights to normal religion activities for religious practice. Lastly, for the country of Japan, the government also give religious freedom and allow the state to refrain from religious education or any religious practice. This one is the freedom of expression. The Constitution of Kingdom of Cambodia specifically state that no one shall be detained or liable to the criminal charge as a result of the expression of the opinion. Apart from that, the government of China has tightened its restriction on the freedom of expression, association and peaceful assembly. Meanwhile, the freedom of speech in Japan applies equally to the human rights concerns and is known as the fundamental right of the particular important in the democratic nation, has it's necessary to shape a general opinion of the constituent.
My name is Nurhaliza Binti Zaharin. In this video, I will present about the environment issue of Cambodia, China and Japan. The term is environment comes from the French word environnement meaning surround. Environment issue refer as an adverse effects on the environment of every human activities which can result to detrimental effects such as death and disease. Begin with deforestation. Illegal logging, high demand for fuel and charcoal are the core factor of deforestation in Cambodia. Therefore, deforestation in Cambodia also threat the townland sub-wetland ecosystem. However, in China, logging and erosion in Yangtze River has caused devastating flood, landslide and mudslide. In addition, the mountains have been hit by deforestation, logging and hunting. Apart of that, the expansion area of Japan's forests have weakened soil conversing, water retaining and purification functions due to lumber industry and logging. Thus, the forests in Japan were turned into farmland. Next environment issue is water pollution. In Cambodia, pollution comes from agriculture because of chemicals such as fertilizer, herbicide and pesticide. Moreover, the fresh water in Cambodia are becoming more contaminated whenever people who live in this country. Meanwhile, in China, chronic poisoning is one of the major pollutions. For example, mercury pollution in the Santua River affected by mercury contamination. Thus, eutrophication of freshwater in China has become a serious problem due to excessive water pollution. However, Japan faces heavy metal pollution cause serious diseases by organic mercury compound and cadmium like Minamata mercury poisoning and Itai diesel. Last environment issue is waste management. In Cambodia, industrial waste such as garment and textile also resulted to the waste management issues. Other than that, hospital wastes in Cambodia composed of needles, syringes, glass bottles, glasses, surgical wastes and the pharmaceutical wastes. However, in China, landfilling is the core problem of waste management. Hence, the presence of waste picker in a quick slope, insufficient compaction and waste covering are the major pollutions in China. Meanwhile, in Japan, waste was often dumped on roadside and abandoned buildings by waste treatment operator. Thus, there are also other forms of waste were produced by factories such as slag, synthetic resin waste that were disposed from the manufacturing process.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Najmi and the next conclusion. From what we learn from the research, we found that Japan, China and Cambodia have their own way to manage the country. They got different perspectives in human rights, environment issues and they are also very different in ranking of Human Development Index. So make them as a advanced, developing and underdeveloped country. So one of the ways to differentiate these three countries is Human Development Index. The HDI implies and captures only part of what human development entails. So Human Development Index is really important benchmark of the world because it gives rough ability to make a comparison on issue of economies and also help us to acknowledge the country development and progress. So as we know, a country that score the higher HDI will influence the better result of life expectancy at birth, education period and income per capita. Among these three countries, Japan has the higher in HDI ranking mortality rate, education and income between China and Cambodia, so it make Japan as a developed country. And next, comparison between the developing countries of today and developed economies of today can offer hope, but less is in terms of policy and institutional recommendations. Governments can advance grow even when government spending is more. Developing economies today need to concentrate on developing fiscal and financial structures before spending demand rise and not when they are materialized. In developing countries, the relative low consumption of energy is both a cause and effect of existing development problem. So from what we conclude, we conclude that all countries around the world need to good leadership in order to secure their own nation with complete goodness in order to protect their citizens from their own.